Hi there, everyone, and welcome back to the Message Marketing Pod. I'm your host, Melotti from Melotti Media, and this is a special episode. It's ideal for any kind of small to medium business who really wants to get into the know about marketing and how to be practical about marketing and how to really get a tangible guide as to how to implement marketing to make their brand popular, no matter if your service or product. So we have the amazing Lauren MacKinnon here with us today from Dancing Through Life Studios. So she is not just a colleague, she's a long-term friend of mine, and she has a dance studio focusing on adult classes for adults, no kids, which is quite a good niche. And so we're going to talk to her about her marketing. So Lauren, I'll get you to jump in and introduce yourself.
Hey guys, and thanks Chris for having me on the podcast. I'm very excited. So I founded Dancing Through Life Studios in 2019. We are an adult dance studio, as Chris said. We have studio classes. We also we did online classes during COVID, which we've continued and turned that into DTLS TV. We also offer wedding dances and choreography services. So a few different offerings, all for adults, all 18 plus. Our first studio we opened in Hornsby. And then last year we opened St. Ives, and next term we're opening our Linfield studio. So onto our third studio, which is very exciting.
And that's so great. That's really great. So let's talk about marketing, which is why we're here. So as you can see, and everyone listening and watching, Lauren's on great trajectory now. And if you're a business owner, like Lauren can attest to, is that it's not easy, right? Like when you're starting off, there's a lot of complexity and a lot of unknowns, and no one really knows what they're doing. We're just sort of getting through things. And a lot of it comes down to marketing yourself really well. So Lauren, what have you found has really worked for you and hasn't worked for you in the marketing space?
Yeah, well, definitely. I feel like there's been sort of a change, especially with COVID. Like people definitely want that more personable brand. Like they want a face to a brand. And I know I'm the same. When I go to buy something, I'm like, oh, what's the face behind this brand? Do you want to know what it's about? All of that stuff. So the things that I share on my social media that have done so well are those stories and our wins and our, even sharing the good and the bad things. And people love that. And I'm always so surprised at what works and what doesn't, And even when I post content from the classes, I'm like, oh, surely this is the interesting part of what we actually do. But sometimes that's not as popular. Like it's the face-to-face me talking to the camera that people actually prefer. Like, and that usually always shocks me because I always think like, oh, no one wants to hear from me, but they do. Like, and you just kind of have to really go with that. Tell your story. Yeah.
I think what you do really well, Lauren, is consistency. Right. Like as in, and a lot of brands underestimate that, is that they think, oh, I've done a couple of videos or I've done a few articles or I've written a website and that's it now, it's locked in. And you don't realize that stuff needs to move, right? And it's like, Lauren, you're always posting on TikTok and Instagram and things about your tap classes and your achievements for a wedding couple and things. And then you talk about how like things work and the advantages of dance and the benefits and health and fitness and all that. You're always there in front of camera. And I get that not everyone feels comfortable. I understand, like people are probably listening going, oh yeah, but like, I don't feel, but it really comes down to, like you've said, Lauren, is being in person and seeing a human.
Yeah.
And I do this too. Like at Melotti Media is I'm way past the sensitive phase of video. I remember years ago, I used to be like, oh my gosh, I'm worried about this or worried about, I'm going to sound bad. Now I don't care. My team say, here, record these 5 videos on this topic. I don't write any scripts. I just do it. Do you write scripts, Lauren? Do you just sort of
I used to, but I found that now naturally the first recording, like the first thing that comes out of my mouth is usually the best thing. Because I'll go back and go, oh, that didn't sound like you said. You'll go back and be like, no, that didn't sound good. And then you'll record it again. And I'll look at my first recording. I'm like, that's it. Like that exactly message that I wanted to say. And I delivered it perfectly. But when you start to get in your head, it doesn't turn out as good. So sometimes the first time is just as good. So no, I used to do scripts, but now I'm just go with the flow.
And so would you suggest to people listening and watching, would you suggest that because I know you're not a marketer per se, like a studied marketer, but you are implementing marketing every single day. Would you say from a business perspective, would you recommend these kind of things to people watching and listening?
Yeah, definitely. I think so. Yeah, I do have a background in media. I did Bachelor of Arts Media as my first degree and then teaching. And I think even from when I did my uni degree, like over 10 years ago now, it's changed. Marketing has changed so much. Like we were saying how people share the background story stories. Whereas I remember 10 years ago, people didn't want to hear the bad things.
Yeah.
You know, people only wanted to hear, oh, the good things. And like, you know, Weight Watchers, for example, is like, this is what you're going to become. Like, this is amazing. Whereas they didn't share the hard stuff. Like, how did they get there? You know, it was just the end result. But now people do want to hear that story. And because there's so many apps available, like you said, I think people are getting more used to being on a camera, whereas they weren't before. And now because people are opening up and sharing those stories, people go, oh, it's not that embarrassing. I can let people know that it was hard or the journey was hard to get there, but we're here now, you know, like, so it's good. It's good that it's changed in that way, like, and people are open to sharing different stories that we wouldn't normally talk about.
And I think one of the most interesting statistic is your About Us page is one of the most visited pages on your website. And the reason why is because of that very reason, Lauren, is that people want to see the people behind it. You know, it's not just, oh, you're an accounting firm or you're producing, you know, some perfume. They want to know, like, who's the person behind it? Why are they doing what they're doing? How did we get here? Well, and all of that. And so, Lauren, like, back to the question was, would you recommend this to small to medium business owners, given your experience?
Yeah, definitely. I think you know, people need to see that. And you'll actually see on my website, I split it up. I've got about our studio and about our founder, about me, because it's two different things. Like what the studio is also different to my why, like, you know, so it's good to, as you said, not make just a generic, this is what we do, this is us. It's like, but why did you get there? Which is interesting that people like hearing.
Of course, absolutely. And so what else do you think has been a real milestone for your business in terms of your marketing? Like, you know, like, for example, your branding, your brand name, the way that you articulate your messaging that I know you've run past me many, many times.
Yeah.
You know, it helps having, what is it, pocket copywriter. But like, but a lot, I'm not taking credit for it. You've done the majority of it. Absolutely. What would you say, do you feel like for people listening gets that impact the most? Like, where do you see, I know it's a cloud of things, but for a business like yourself.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like and it has even, you know, I've only had the business for 5 years, and I have noticed how much it does evolve, you know, like, and when I first started, you know, I didn't, like you said, you don't know anything, and there's no like business manual that tells you what to do. I mean, there are books available.
There are, but they're not like, they're so, every business
different.
journey is so different. Yeah,
exactly. And then, so I started just, this is classes and just the basic of that. But, you know, once, I think it was really, my turning point was COVID. I do have you to thank as well, because you were one of the first people, as one of my business mentors, who said, get on Zoom and, you know, like change it up, like just do something different. And I was on Zoom weeks before other dance studios were. Like, we literally went
remember that.
Yeah.
Oh my
we went
gosh.
into lockdown. I had a week off. The next week I had my full classes running. I said to all my students, you know, if you're used to coming to 7 p.m. tap, we're going to do 7 p.m. tap on Tuesday, but on Zoom, you know. And I went for about, I want to say 6 to 8 weeks before other people kind of got around to it. And by that point, like, it was sad because so many people their businesses had already got, like, people had found other places by that point, you know. So COVID was my biggest turning point, where I also changed up my marketing, because that's where I wasn't in the studio. So I couldn't record those classes. I didn't have those people, and I had to start filming myself doing dances at home in my living room or outside, or like motivating people to, like, you know, that's where I kind of moved on to that, you know, your well-being and like how good dance is for your health. And that changed my marketing. So I was like, well, hang on a second. If people are still paying for classes in a global pandemic, like, it shows that my business is a niche and it is something that people will always want. So I changed that marketing into, hey guys, you can give yourself 45 minutes or an hour to just step away from your computer and all the stress that's going on and just dance and just have fun. And that's where my marketing changed, because it wasn't just about dance classes. It was about what it was doing for your health. And that was the biggest. So I have COVID to thank in a very strange way. Like, it changed my marketing. Like, and then I kind of,
this is what I mean, is the core essence of that insight for everyone listening and watching is resilience. Adaptability is the most important thing. Like, I think for any business, like for us, we're constantly, like AI, we're adapting, you know, but it's not just that. There's so many different things that are out there that are happening right now. And it's like, your complacency should never be in your business owner toolkit. Right. And like what you were saying, Lauren, is it's not just COVID. Like, I know everyone's over COVID right now, but it's everything. Like, for example, Lauren, you know, as you start to move and you went, oh, we're an adult only class. You didn't just go, let's just try it. Like, you looked at the niche and you said, there's a real niche for the non-kids school, like people, like adults want to get in here and feel comfortable doing it. And it's little things like the way that you have, I know that you've, over the years, you've said, oh, should I be looking at this or investing in these kind of things? And I think that that's the main takeaway is
Yeah.
for small to medium businesses, always be open to opportunity. It doesn't mean that they're right. Right. I know that we've had chats about acquiring other businesses and all these kind of things, and not to go down the road, but it's like, it's not just going, oh, no, or yes. It's about looking and endeavoring to find the right way to be there. And how would you say that you relate to your customers? Like, how do you sort of make sure that you're still in touch with your customer base? Like, for example, you said, oh, we started doing wedding dances.
Oh, how that sort of came.
Yeah. How did you, like, because this is, again, part of marketing. It's not just like, oh, well, we're doing a dance studio, so we should do wedding dances. It's like, what I'm assuming that the journey was going from adult dancing to, oh, people ask for weddings, and then you've built it now into your
100%. It was just, like, as you said, when I first started, I didn't say, oh, I'm going to do wedding dances. It was a dance studio just for classes. And literally a friend's sister said, oh, Lauren's got an adult dance studio. She must do wedding dances. And from them asking me, I was like, well, I don't, but I do now, and if I said no, I would have lost so many opportunities. So as you said, it's not only resilience, but keeping yourself open to opportunities that come up and knowing, I guess, whether they're going to be good or bad. And to be honest, if I reflect on it, it was a good thing. And I've got so many more clients from that. But if I said no, what was the worst thing that was going to happen? I did it, and then I just never got another client. Like, you don't know until you do these things, and you kind of, it's hard because you do get to a point where when you get busier, like now I'm at the point where I have to say no to some things because you just physically can't do it all. But yeah, you kind of go, well, hang on a second, this fits in my niche. It's not children, it's still adults. It still fits into my branding. It still fits into everything. Dancing through life studios, dancing through life at your wedding, or, you can just change that wording and you just tailor it to, what you want. Like, yeah, and it was good. And that same thing, like, as I said, through COVID, it wasn't until that happened that I had to do online classes. And if I said no, I would have lost the studio. I don't think I would be where I was today if I just
no.
Because
And that's
so new. Like, I'd opened in 2019 and I'd been open for a year, and then we had lockdown, like we had COVID. So I don't think my business would have survived if I didn't do that. And I was very aware. I think I was lucky, and I hate using that word, but I was fortunate in the sense that because my business was so new, I didn't have anything to lose. Whereas I think all these other dance studios that had been around for 20 plus years, it was such a big change for them. And they couldn't comprehend how big a change it was moving on to online, because we'd never done it in however many years. Like, this is the first time this has happened. So I was fortunate that I was so fresh and new and keen to just do anything to get this business working. Like, and it does, as you said, coming back to resilience, like, if I wasn't keen to jump on it, it wouldn't have happened, So you do have to really know. Yeah.
And that's the thing, and it's like, Lauren has a specific example here for everyone listening and watching, is Lauren has an example, but this is the question is, what are you seeing on your horizon that you need to adapt to? Like I always say, that businesses should be regularly doing the SWOT analysis. It's an oldie but a goodie: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. What's out there right now that you can capitalize on? What do you need to defend against? Because it's these kind of opportunities that people aren't taking up. And so I'm sure that, Lauren, you've seen a lot of things going on right now that are probably strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats that you've got to look out for. And your marketing has to be prepared and ready for that. I mean, let's throw another curveball at you. Sorry. You're like, is retention. Retention is another huge part of marketing. And obviously you've got your students there. We always lose and gain them, but is there a way that you, and I'm not saying you have to get into some sophisticated like CRM or anything like that, is there a way that you actively try and retain your students, your clients?
Yeah. And again, that also comes back to marketing. Just on what we were talking about before, was having to also, the thing that I've found hard is having to adapt your marketing quicker. Like back in the day when I first started, I was doing monthly planners for all this stuff, whereas now I find sometimes it's best to just do weekly, and it would stress me out where I'd be like, I don't have a month's worth contact, because you constantly have to adapt. And then around your messaging and marketing, like, you need to be able to change up your marketing with that, obviously. But yeah, in terms of retention, like, I have had to adapt. And I could tell you multiple different passes and ways for purchasing classes that I've had from the get-go, that my poor students who've been with me, my OGs from 2019, like, they have seen me through all, and they've stuck with me. The ones that want to be there will stick through with you for all the changes. Retention. And now they enjoy it. Like, it's beneficial for them, because instead of having to pay like weekly invoices, I think I did cash in hand and had little, almost like coffee cards, where you probably remember, like,
that's what I had when I was doing tap classes. That's what I did, is you had
and now I've gone, well, hang on a second. If I want regulars, like, that's annoying. Like, for me as a customer, that would be annoying to do that. Hang on, let's put them on if they want to pay for a term, or if they want to do 2 terms. So now my regulars, they have 2 invoices a year. They pay for term 1 and 2. and 3 and 4. It's easy. They don't have to think
This
about
is,
it, you know?
Lauren,
And
this is
it's so,
brilliant. Okay,
it's like,
I want everyone to right now listening and listen to what Lauren just said is, and you might not even notice it, what you said, Lauren, is you looked at the customer experience. This is so missed by so many businesses, is you said, that's annoying. What can I do better? Right?
yeah,
People underestimate the power of looking at your customer experience and going, this is frustrating. Let me find a better way. I mean, brands do it all the time. For example, Telstra, they used to make you manually pay for your mobile subscriptions thing. Now it's all automatic, right? It's not only beneficial for their business because they don't have to chase you anymore and there's late payments, but also if you think about it, now it's so easy. I don't have to care. I don't have to pay an invoice. It's done. So think about your customers and what Lauren just said right now, and think about the systems that you're using. You can get better retention if you make the ongoing experience much more seamless. So what did you do? Did you automate that payment? Did you, or you got like a pay wave or something?
like you said, I think I'm fortunate in the sense that I am my own like student kind of thing, because that's why I started the business. There were no adult dance studios for myself. So whenever I think of that customer experience, I come back to myself, well, would I do this? And I always ask that question. Like whenever I need to change something up, I'll find that I'm getting a lot of inquiries about the same thing. And then I jump on my own website, and I do this all the time. And like you said, I don't think people do it. I don't think people do this as well, is going on their website and going, how can I make this easier? Or how can I make whatever service or product I have easier for my customer? Because
Correct.
it won't stay the same for a year or like that. And the hard part is no one will tell you when you need to change it. You need to be able to know when the right time is,
Correct.
So for me, obviously I had to know when the right time was. I wasn't going to randomly change it in the middle of the year. I said, well, hang on, what are my customers used to doing 10-week terms? So let's roll this out, January next year so we can start fresh. And that's what I did this year. This is the first time I've done it. And it's worked so well because my regulars are happy because they now get a discount if they book in for more terms. And they still have the casual option for people who want to just turn up whenever they can. So it's giving the two different people options, because I'm not going to make adults pay for a full term if they know they can only make a casual class. So there's an option for them as well, because there's the two different clients,
Yep.
and you need to know that. You need to be all over all the different people that come through your door, because you will miss out on opportunities if you don't cater to them.
Great insights. So like, again, this podcast is ideal for business owners that are looking for inspiration. I think what you've said is a lot, is looking through your website, looking at the SWOT analysis, looking at your customer experience, and finding and extending your products or service lines in a customer orientated way, but also in a gradual way. Like you can see that Lauren didn't just go, oh, here's 500 other things. It's you incrementally increase so you don't lose control. And I think that's really important. So Lauren, last question is, what would, for other business owners, based on your experience, what would you suggest that someone should be doing right now? And it can be anything, like, something that you found, like, is it events? Is it like, taking up TikTok if you haven't already? Is it like don't be afraid to share your insights, especially like you said earlier in the podcast, you said you think that people don't care until they do. What would you say to other business owners right now?
It's a hard one, because I feel like there is no wrong or right answer, which makes it so hard. But yeah, I would just say, honestly, don't be scared to try new things, because it's like any opportunity in life. You never know unless you ask, or you never know unless you do. The worst case scenario, it's going to be a no, or you do it for a month, or you try new marketing for a month and it doesn't work. Go back to your original if it was working, or just try something, mix up something small to start with. Is just look at your website and go, I do it weekly. I look at my website and go, how can I make this better? Or if I can't find these things myself, then my clients can't find it. So just start small, whether it's your social media or your website. Look at it and go, how can I make one thing better? And I can guarantee you'll find 10 things that you can make better just from looking at it. And you just start there. You don't have to do it all in one day. Just set your task, every Monday morning for an hour, I'm going to update my social media and make it better, and you just have to slowly implement. You don't, obviously overwhelm yourself, but just slowly, or try something new, whether it's, I'm going to try find a customer this way, or through, an Instagram DM or something different that you don't normally do, and just see if it works, because 9 times out of 10, it usually does. And you'll have clients for it. Yeah. I
think for everyone listening, that's the main insight is, yes, it can be overwhelming, but it's that whole adage of how do you eat an elephant? Right. You can see that Lauren hasn't just attacked everything at once. Like, she would have gotten overwhelmed, as would I. I've been there many, many times.
To be a small business owner, it's just you, like
Yeah.
Yeah, teachers, but as in head office, it's just me. Like you can't overwhelm yourself, or else you just
Yeah.
you
And I
burn
don't
out.
think you need to. I think the key takeaway there is you don't need to, right? You don't you're not expected. This is what I found earlier in my business journey was I
Yeah,
was looking at other people's marketing who'd been in the business in the area for like 12 years,
yeah,
right? I remember it was like my second year and I was looking at
yeah.
other people that had been there 12 years and I was thinking, oh my God, why can't I do all this stuff? And
Picks you up. Yeah,
it's so hard because you
yeah,
get stuck in this trap
yeah.
because you compare. And
Yes.
sure,
Yeah,
you're aspirational and you're eager, but it doesn't mean that you need to kill yourself doing it. Like you need to nice and slow, tick one box off. My operations manager bought me a whiteboard, and so
yeah,
I just put that on, and that works for me.
yeah.
So whatever works for you, increments. Thank you so much, Lauren. That was really good. I hope everyone gained a lot out of this because it's not just me on my ivory marketing tower, spouting all this information. You've got someone that, like Lauren, who has a media degree as a business owner. She's like everyone. She's
Yeah.
making her own way through, and things work, things don't. And I think that hearing it from Lauren is a practical firsthand example of the power of marketing, especially in that earlier years of your business.
Yeah.
So thank you, Lauren. Give us a plug. Why should people be dancing with you? Jump on.
Oh, because you leave school and you don't have an opportunity to do all these things that you love as an adult. And I think we give, our kids and everyone else time to do the things that they love, but we don't give ourselves that time. So, do a dance class, learn a new skill, meet a new friend, improve your mental and physical well-being.
Yep. And I think that people will go, oh, I'm not a dancer, but that's not true. Like, I think it's fun, exciting if you're struggling with the gym, and you want to be active. And I love Lauren's classes because there's no judgment. Like, it's not like you're sitting there going like, oh, people are going to be like really better and I'm going to be terrible. Like, Lauren, you've got me through right now. We're doing a tango, right? And
I was going to say, you can speak from experience. You were one of
100%.
the originals in 2019.
That's the thing, right? Like, but if it's like doing a tango, I never thought I would doing it. And yes, it's hard, right? I'm not going to deny it. Like, I'm not a natural dancer, but just by default. But learning, practicing, developing, and working with you is great. So kudos to you. So thank you, Lauren, for joining us for the Message Marketing Pod. This was a great episode for businesses who are looking to get real examples of how to use marketing. So again, big thank you, Lauren. Thank you for joining us. I hope everyone got a lot out of this, and please join me in the next episode.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.